meeting, so that we'll be able to pull notes from it. Also, please use the chat function so that you can contribute comments or specifically maybe even pose questions to others that are on this link. But before we get there, we have some business to do. So this is an official meeting of the Glassell Park Improvement Association. And want to welcome everyone here. Oh, I just wanted to finish the comment that I was making. When we finish that report, it will not only be posted on our website, but it will be delivered to each of our 3 council offices so that there will be within that report some action items that they will be able to address immediately or take note of. That will be something that we'll want to focus on in the future. And this is how we're going to slowly address some of the issues in those particular council areas. We're going to have a poll that we're going to be taking while we're doing this. But first, I do want to introduce Bill Cody, who's here with us from Council District 1. Bill was very supportive in our setting up of this survey. And Council District 1 has the majority of real estate in Glassell Park. So we will be working directly with them a great deal on any improvements that we make for this area. His office is also looking at the funding to replace all the ancient irrigation systems down the median of Eagle Rock Boulevard. The plumbing there is so old, they do not even have the charts for that anymore. When something breaks, it is replaced with plastic, which breaks, and they replace it again. And we've been trying to chase this down now for years. So we're really looking forward to making some permanent fixes so we can invest in the improvements in the area. John, Bill, you just want to say hello for everyone?
Yes, hello.
Hi, Bill.
I was reading Molly's text on the bottom there. Hi. Yes, we're looking forward to seeing the results of the survey, and we are committed to doing what we can to do investment into the Glassell Park portion of CD1, and I think this will help us to direct that in a way that is constituent friendly, which I think is an important thing that we've been trying to do, is hear from the constituents on what are the important things for that neighborhood. So something like this is very valuable to be able to use. So I'm looking forward to it. And sorry I couldn't stop by. I talked to Alice earlier today. I know she stopped by and helped with the survey, and I was stuck someplace else. But believe me, we love Glassell Park, and I've been there all week. By the way, I just mentioned this earlier. 12 to 16-year-olds can get vaccinated tomorrow at our site, and come on by just to say hello. A couple of your members did this week, and it's always good to see everybody.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Bill. And lastly, before we launch, I want to thank the Neighborhood Council that gave us the seed money for the ability to do that survey. So thanks go out to them. Our agenda, we wanted to include a new board member. We had an open seat. We had an applicant too, as I feel, actually, and luckily they're married to one another. So this is just a bonus for us. The board wholeheartedly approved, and now we need to take it to the voting membership of the GPIA. The potential new board member is John List.
Yes.
John, just raise your hand. There he is. And his wife, Suzanne. So this needs the approval of the voting membership of the GPIA. To be able to vote, you just have to be a dues paying member, and then you qualify. So John, Suzanne, thank you. Oh, glass of Chablis over there, huh?
There, yes.
Thank you so much for volunteering. We've really enjoyed working with you on the community committee level and everything that you have participated in, and you're going to be one wonderful addition after we take a vote.
Likewise. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Does everyone see the reactions sign down at the bottom of your Zoom link? Everyone have that? So if you click on reactions, let's just do it this way. If you don't want John on the board, click no.
Come on, Marge.
I'm not
What?
seeing it. Okay.
Sorry, I was coercing.
If you would like John added to the board, please click yes. And if you can't find reactions, you can just raise your hand.
How about pizza or something?
Thumbs
yes.
up, yes,
I see
yes.
thumbs up.
Okay, it's looking like
Gray bar at the bottom.
you are part of the board, and we really thank you, John and Suzanne, for the efforts you made, and we are really looking forward to continue working.
Annette, if you hover down at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a thing that says reactions.
Yeah, I see it.
And click on it.
Okay.
The party
And
hat.
then you see a yes or a hand.
I see. Okay, I see a hand up. Okay.
Go for it. Click
Okay,
on it.
got it.
You
Got
know,
it.
I'm so sorry, but there was an official bit of business that I had to do, and it was to count. And I wasn't counting, I was so busy talking. So would you guys mind just putting the thumbs up, a yes, or whatever you want to do again, and I'll just get a count on it. 12,
Why
Mom.
does it keep disappearing? I keep doing it and it disappears.
12 in favor, 1 opposed. But that's just,
Everyone's a favor. Who's opposed?
it was
Oh,
you.
Brian.
It was you.
Oh, I was a joke. I'm in favor.
12 in favor, thank you so much.
All in favor.
How many did you count, Helene?
12.
Thank you.
40. I counted 40.
You say 12 and I write 15. I'm okay.
Go ahead. Donald, we're just going to do a treasurer's report so everyone can know just how poor we are and how much we accomplish on such a thin budget. Donald? We just have to take you off mute, Donald.
There we go. All right, that helps. So the total that is currently in our account is $22,060.91, of
Wow.
which that total, hang on a second, let me get back to my other. Of that, $4,889 is allocated to Friends of Walnut Canyon. So meaning we have $17,171.08 available to the GPIA, and the amount in the community center account is maintained stable at $6,212.22, and I will send those numbers to you, Marge, in an email.
Excellent. Thank you, Donald.
And remember, it's a 5013C, so if you're getting ready to kick the bucket or anything, make sure you put them in your will.
Thank you, Brian. And lastly, I just want to say, you know, this past year, it's been challenging for everyone, but I've really been proud of how the GPIA has stepped up, probably one of our more active years in recent times. And one of the things that we've really been focused on is what we're calling statements of community impact, where the GPIA is putting out their voice to the city, the community. So far this year, we've already sent out 9, and they can be found on our website, gpia.org, under improvement projects, where our letters are listed. We also put those statements in our newsletters as we write them. So you can see them there and the positions that the GPI has taken. All right, thank you. We're going to try something here. We've set up a poll, and I want to see if we can begin this poll. It's the first time I've done this, so I'm not terribly adept. Let's see if we can.
Have you made the
Yes.
poll already?
I'm going to see if I could set this up. Hang
Kind of
on
a
a
poll.
second. I'm sorry, bear with me.
I'm worried about this poll.
All right,
Oh,
Guys?
there it is. Yeah.
go ahead. How did you hear about the survey? Go ahead and make your choices, please.
It's not
Can we
in
do
there.
more than one?
Yep.
Yep.
I think you could do multiple choice.
You could do multiple choice if you set it up that way in the beginning.
And I did.
Okay, great.
Oh, very interesting. All right.
Now you can share the poll.
I am about to. I was just waiting for it to do that. And word of mouth takes the
Oh,
lead.
okay.
All
That
right.
works.
Actually,
Good, thank you. Let
a
me
glass
just.
of wine, I think. Hold on.
Go. All right. And let's see if I could get to, oh, so sorry. Stop sharing. Oh, yeah. Okay, here's our next poll. Where do you live? In which council district?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah, we put up a map just in case you didn't know.
Use more than one.
Okay. We're still having people look. I'm moving that aside so you can see it.
Is that accurate? Oh, yeah, it is.
All right. We got almost everybody.
so if you clicked the one and the map came up, that means you're registered.
Mitch has a lot of dead people in his group.
All right, I'm going to close that poll out and share these results.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay,
Well, those in Forest Lawn can't vote.
all right, and then let's go to the next poll. All right,
How do I?
how often do you use Eagle Rock Boulevard? I own it, well, yeah, how often do you use it?
Well, that's kind of a weird,
Yeah, for local.
we use it for all three. Well, I only put two. I use it every
All the
morning.
time.
Cross it.
Okay. Almost. Okay,
All the
that was
time.
very interesting. I'm going to close this poll out now, and here are the results.
Even.
Even, wow.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And I have one more that I want to do before we get started. So when you're on Eagle Rock Boulevard, are you
Walk there. Well, I walked to the liquor store.
Nobody walks in LA.
That's a great song.
I'll give it another second or two, and then we'll close this poll out. And okay, going to end this poll. And here are the results.
Ah,
Wow, biking is down.
Oh.
Why would you bike on it? Oof.
you can't walk on it either.
Well, it has bike lanes.
Yeah, and it has
Yeah.
sidewalks too.
Okay, so with that in mind, I would now like to get some observations from the people who were involved in the surveys. I'm just going to kind of do it team by team, and we'll make this kind of brief. But what I'm looking for, well, I'll tell you what, I'll be the example. I was actually part of team 1, and I was with 2 people who worked for Kevin De Leon. And so we did the area that was on the west side of the street. There you see team 1 up there. Thank you, Maura. And we did those 2 blocks. The good thing about that area is the sidewalks were a pretty consistent 13 to 14 feet wide. So and there weren't many problems with the sidewalk itself. So it was good for pedestrian passage with mobility issues. Plenty of room for parkway. And the largest problem we found in this area that would lead to an uncomfortable walking experience was the amount of filth and trash. There was an area where the street was such that the water didn't run into the gutter. It just piled up with sludge, and it couldn't get through the drain anyway because that was completely blocked. And a lot of the trees were stumps or so poorly pruned that they, it was a very sad situation. And of course, I don't think there was any irrigation for the parkway trees except outside of Perch, which they were required to do. But one of them already died. There was 3. One of them already died. And the other 2 were staked very badly. And all of them were bottle brush, and I'm not sure that was the best tree. So those were my observations. There was some pluses. There's a lot of possibilities here and no major issues that would be very costly to have to repair, but a lot of work that the council office took note of, cleaning streets, cleaning sidewalks, adding more trash cans, adding bike racks, and definitely all those new apartment buildings where we see them take their dogs for a walk across to our medians and don't pick up after the dogs and then walk them back to the apartments, was an opportunity to not only put in new trash cans, but to put doggy waste bag dispensers near those apartment buildings. All right, team 2, John and Suzanne, would you like to speak to your experience?
Absolutely. So what we found is that we found quite a few trees that were actually in very good shape. There was a few that were empty. There also were a couple that were burnt, so that were, I'll tell you, someone charred them, which was sort of strange. We found one almost going extinct tree, which I thought was really interesting. And then a couple, most of the sidewalks were in good shape. We thought those were great. There were a couple that were a little sort of maybe treacherous. We couldn't really walk, right? They weren't as balanced. Maybe some of the trees were pushing up some of the sidewalk areas, which might need to be repaired or flattened just for safety reasons.
You couldn't put a wheelchair.
Right. Some of them weren't, sort of wheelchair accessible in a sense. We did find areas where it would be great to have some bike racks. We also found the same as you, Halima, as far as the garbage cans and also recycling bins we thought would be nice for people that would have recycling options like they do in Canada and also in Highland Park and some of those areas in Figueroa, where they'll have multiple bins in one area, which would be nice to have. The lighting was good. Well, we found all the lights that seemed to be spaced properly. But that was our main thing, just overall beautifying with trees we thought would be a big deal. And also there's some areas where we could grow some shrubs and grow some other areas that were open areas in front of some of the apartment buildings and in front of some of the businesses where they were just sitting empty and fallow, right? So I think it could be some areas where we could really beautify the street more by doing some small plantings as well. Also no irrigation signs at whatsoever that we saw. But that was pretty much it, right? Is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I disagree is the sidewalk. I thought it was kind of wonky. A
There
lot
were,
of-
there were some parts you
Yeah.
felt kind of needed a new
you could
resurface.
not, if you're talking about walking around, you can't push a stroller and you cannot put a wheelchair.
Right.
There's no way.
So that wouldn't be
Yeah.
conducive for that. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's pretty much all we.
Thank you. Thank you very
Uh-huh.
much. In team 3, Zazu, I think you can do a brief overview
Sure.
for us.
Almost the entire length of it, it runs between York and Verdugo. Pretty much the whole block is that Neela Union complex of condominiums. And so that whole area has been recently refurbished. So I have to say it was actually in excellent condition. But it's an odd area because I don't think there's a real destination there, because people visiting that complex are probably going to park inside the complex or bike into the complex. So I don't know that there's a need for amenities on the street. There's some trees that could be replaced that didn't make it. Pretty much everything has irrigation. But the one thing that was really striking about it, it was for Eagle Rock Boulevard, an impeccable sidewalk. And I think that's because of that condo complex. I actually picked up the 2 pieces of trash that we found on the entire long stretch. So it's in great shape, but I'm not, you don't need a bike rack there. There's nothing you really need to add except to replace the trees, I think.
Thank you. All right. Team 5, is Heather with us tonight?
I actually ended up doing team 12 because my other team members hadn't shown up. So I can't speak
thank
to
you.
team 5, sorry.
Did you need to skip team 4?
Yeah.
I did, because I knew that you were going to speak to it. It was an accident. I was looking ahead. Donald, talk to us about team 4.
Okay, so our stretch was between the freeway on-ramp and Avenue 35. And the sidewalk there is an absolutely deplorable situation. It's very narrow because of the way that the freeway comes very close to Eagle Rock Boulevard. And so the width of the sidewalk the entire way was at its widest 5 feet. But a lot of places it was only about 2 feet wide, because when there was a telephone pole or a street sign or a no parking sign pole, it was right in that, sidewalk, 5-foot sidewalk, and would, basically narrow it down to sometimes as small as 2 feet. So there was really no way that a wheelchair or a stroller could maneuver through a lot of spaces on that. And a lot of it was also in really bad shape, just cracked or pitted. Some places there was no concrete. It was just, had been patched with asphalt. And so that was in really bad, is particularly at one spot, there's a bus stop, and getting to that bus stop, if you were in a wheelchair, would be like pretty much impossible because you couldn't navigate around where the telephone poles narrowed down the sidewalk. So we were thinking if there was some way they could maybe in some of those spots build like an apron out into where the parking is, maybe take away a few parking spots around there so that people with accessibility issues could navigate around. So it needs a lot of attention, a lot of work. Of course, there really weren't any trees there because there was no room to plant trees. That all changes when you get down to Avenue 35 right here, where that sort of Baroque style,
Spanish colonial.
yeah, is where there are some bakeries and things about to go in there. Then the sidewalk opens out really nice and wide. And that would be, we were thinking, a good place because the sidewalk is really wide, and around the corner, there's a lot of nice plantings. That might be a nice place to have a bike rack. And bikes and stuff sort of, because that's kind of a destination point.
And Donald, you were actually with Hector Vega, the representative of CD13, and this was
Right.
part of CD13, which is, really nice that he experienced those impediments to mobility in that section.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do we have anyone from Team 5 tonight? Okay. Team 6, Susie, would you like to speak to that?
Sure. Yeah. On ours, we went from Astera Avenue, past Avenue 33, and then down to Moss Avenue. And for the most part, the sidewalk, I think in all of our area, the 2 blocks was pretty wide. I'd say 9 to 10 feet. I can't quite remember, but I think at least 9 feet and at least 4 feet of walkway. It was in pretty good shape, except for 2 areas in front of 3315 and 3311 Eagle Rock Boulevard. One of the areas had broken sidewalks, so that would be a little wonky for a wheelchair or a stroller. And the other one had a lifted sidewalk, which was pretty lifted, so that would be dangerous. So that needs to be repaired, and that was because of, I think it was a camphor tree there that was lifting the sidewalk. Otherwise, no irrigation. Somebody had planted a couple of trees and they were actually being watered, so that was nice. That was nice to see. Planted a magnolia tree and some other things. We suggested possibly bike racks in that area because Astera and Moss are pretty wide streets and very nice. So people might easily be biking there. So that's a possibility. Definitely more trash cans. We didn't see a lot of trash. It wasn't, it wasn't an attractive area, but really not much trash. Dog waste containers would be great. And then we noticed a lot of just weeds in the parkway. So I think just to beautify it, if the weeds could be removed, pulled out, cut down, whatever, and then sweep the streets, that would make a big improvement in the area, certainly for the whole Eagle Rock area. But otherwise, I think the sidewalks were really in very good shape, except for those two areas that I mentioned.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much. Alice Roth joined us from CD14. Alice, if you have a moment to give a quick hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone. Alice Roth, Council Member De Leon's office. Sorry, I joined late. I was trying to get on another call. Sorry. But I just wanted to share my experience. Went out with Helene and Cynthia from our office, and we went from Avenue, I think 42, Eagle Rock, Eagle Rock, and what was that, 42 to 43?
We went
down
from York to 43 and 43 to 42.
That's it. That's it.
One.
Okay. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, I visited since with the urban forestry supervisor today, just showing him the different, tree cuts, the wells, the just the situation of the trees. I showed him other trees throughout Highland Park and Eagle Rock, but I really wanted to show him this right next to Target, and just the deplorable situation that was there with the trees and how they're all dead and they're just, we got to do something. So he's gonna get on that right now. A lot of the trees that I guess that we looked at today had a lot of that decomposed granite in it that was choking the tree, and there was no irrigation. And a lot of trees, now that I'm looking at them, a lot of yellow on the tops of the trees and a lot of brown and things like that. Shows that it's it's not getting what it needs from the soil at the bottom and not getting irrigated. And it's just, now you open my eyes to so many things, and it's just really troubling me. I feel like I'm going to be on a mission now to take care of all our trees. He was explaining so many things, and just how education is so important on how, we take care of these trees. And I think we're going to get rid of a lot of those, the stuff in the tree wells. We're going to check on all the weeds and all the, you know, all the gravel that they put in. I guess at one point she said that was something that they were thinking of doing, and, you know, everybody jumped on it, but the maintenance was just not there, just like everything else, like enforcement and things like that. If you don't have that in the get-go, it's just going to be difficult to manage anything else. But it was really enlightening today, and it was really enlightening going with you, Helene, because you seem to know that ground pretty well, and just a lot of the tree situations. And so I really want to work with you guys and, you know, see what we can do about educating people about these trees, and just getting folks to try to water them, try to take care of the trees and the soil underneath.
Thank you so much. You know, that's just, I'm sure it just really warms my heart. I'm sure it does everyone on this, this Zoom, to know that you care and are, you know, putting your abilities to making some improvements. So thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Whatever I can do to help.
Love it.
Our office, you know, the council members all for the environment. So following his lead.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Sure.
So team 7, we had Heather Sabin. Did you make it on tonight? Maybe not. Team 8, Anne, you were part of team 8, and so was Gamma. Anne Jones?
Here.
Right.
Anne, would you like to speak briefly about your experiences of the section for Team 8?
Yeah, and I think Gamma should contribute some also.
You were there earlier.
Took a lot of photos, but the main thing I noticed is that the trees, what trees were there, were so poorly maintained. They needed trimming. A lot of the trees had suckers coming up from the roots. So they were starting to turn into multi-trunk trees instead of single trunk trees. There were, if I recall, I think there was one dead tree, a magnolia, but there was just so many trees with broken branches and obviously suffering drought stress pretty badly. The sidewalk was really narrow as you get down towards where Eagle Rock turns into Cypress. And there's a humongous eucalyptus tree that's right by the back gate of Hirsch Pipe and Supply. And it's buckled the sidewalk. It's like way overgrown the sidewalk. And there's guy wires for the power lines that are sticking out into the sidewalk, and somebody in a wheelchair, there is no way they could make it past that. It's like impassable and scary. Trash strewn everywhere. It's a lot of urban campers park their vehicles there and are there all the time. I was really surprised that I didn't see any campers the day we were there, but it's usually really a mess. It's usually got a lot of trash. And the other thing that really stood out to me is where Patra's Burgers are. There's where the intersection where Eagle Rock Boulevard goes into San Fernando Road, there is a very large area that would be ideal right at the gore point of the corner there for landscaping. Right now, the only thing that's in there is there's some dying grass and there's a canary pine that's young, so it hasn't been trimmed up yet on the base. Those were my main things that I noticed. And Gamma pointed out a number of times that there was room for more trees, but I should let him speak to that. That's basically what I have to say.
Thanks, Anne. I'd also like to talk about just the process of walking through the community with, you know, other people that care about the environment. I'm more of a journey kind of guy rather than a destination. So just hearing what my team had to say was very valuable to me as well. And I had some things to share as well. I think everyone kind of like, I'm not going to repeat what everyone said. Everything that everyone said, there was some semblance of it, maybe not as bad in some cases, maybe even worse in others. And I am with Northeast Trees, so I was taking a look at the trees, and I think, yeah, you know, the thing with trees, it's like they're like people. Like when they're young, you should put in the most work, right? Like between the first 5 years, which is also like with humans too, because their habits, the way they grow, is a lot harder to change once they're older. So I want the team here or the folks here to understand that the problems that we have with the big trees can be prevented with the smaller ones that we see now, right? And so and they're more inexpensive. I think, as Ann said, the big thing that really spoke to me was the big sycamore. I think it needs to be looked at and checked into. And then some of the other trees, they can be helped. You know, since they haven't gotten the care they've needed for so long, there's going to be a lot of work to be done. But if you do that work, and I think more importantly, you know, if you're all seeking to resolve these issues, please get yourself, like, please spend the money to get the right person, right? Because if someone's not cleaning their tools between the tree, even between branches or between trees, they're just going to kill the rest of the trees, you know, and you can't see it because a lot of these diseases are microscopic, and that's why the horticultural knowledge is super important. So if we're going to have people to look over them, whether they're private contractors, which is sometimes the case, or the city, it'd be good to just make sure that, you know, they're they're doing it properly. But how do you do that? I don't know. There's no way to actually do it unless you have another arborist checking the work, or you have full confidence that the people doing the trimming are doing it in the right way. There are spaces for new trees, and this is, you know, it's an opportunity to do the right thing. And, you know, this time around, unlike the other times, maybe this time we'll put in the right tree that's not going to uproot the sidewalk. They'll be a little smaller, but they won't do, you know, they won't lift the sidewalk, which is happening not only Eagle Rock Boulevard, but also Verdugo Road, which are the big ficus trees. And then, you know, if we have an adamant team that is willing to learn from the community some basic horticultural knowledge, a lot of these problems can be prevented at a way lower cost. I know you can get permits to do tree care with the Urban Forestry Division, and they're free. And if you have the right knowledge, if you can find an arborist or UFD or another organization to kind of help you out with that on that regard, you can put the right tree, right place, and won't cause a lot of problems.
So Gama, as I kind of said at the beginning, trees, as you know, is a huge focus for us on this project, but it's so detailed, and it takes, you know, some people with some knowledge, that we see this as being a separate unit of this that takes its own focus. And I thank you for volunteering, and Anne has volunteered to be part of this group that will continue working on just the tree aspect of our parkway trees, and look at our medians with us as well. So that's really, really fabulous. I didn't want to cut you short. I just wanted everyone to know that this will have its own particular space and focus. Anything more, Gama?
Just that, yeah, it's a big issue, you know. There's a lot of things to be resolved here, and yeah, I understand that tree is just one part of it, but it's all ultimately, I feel it's all one thing, right? Because it's like, how do we build the city to make it into a city that we want to walk in, for example, or bike in?
Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. Excellent, thank you. Team 9, we're going on to the east side now. So Team 9, you know, we had Jim Keel and Sergio Flores, and Jim does all of this work for us. He leads our flash cleanups. He is the median committee. He works with Parkway Trees for the GPIA and has done a phenomenal job. He really just leads in this area. But we've never heard from Sergio before. And I would love to get your impressions from your experience, Sergio.
Sure. Hey, everyone, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Sergio.
Yeah, so the area that we actually surveyed, I live fairly close to it, and I'm also somewhat new to Glassell Park. I just moved here about 3 months ago with my wife. And so I actually walk up and down more on the northern end of the boulevard and ride my bike and also drive. So it's a main thoroughfare for us. But that area that we surveyed was okay. It was, fairly well. The width of the sidewalks were consistent. There were maybe about 3 or 4 trouble issues with the sidewalk from what I recall in terms of, raised and cracked sidewalks, some of it being several inches off of the level surface. So that could cause a hazard to either people walking or trying to get through on a wheelchair or stroller. And most of that was in front of the plaza where the Rite Aid is. And I learned that apparently that whole plaza is owned by maybe 1 or 2 landlords, and that they might be in charge of fixing those sidewalks if that plaza ever gets, I can't recall, but maybe sold to another owner or whatnot. But it was also quite ironic because before we hit that stretch of Rite Aid Plaza is a Department of Water and Power building. And the sidewalk stretch in front of the DWP building was almost flawless. And then right when you hit the Rite Aid Plaza is when you start seeing, I guess, the not so well maintained sidewalk. So it's a huge contrast for, the common pedestrian or what have you. But yeah, that was probably the main things that I noticed. And I won't go into the trees since that's kind of a separate report. But yeah, in terms of just safety and all that, it was fairly well. Just some of those raised sidewalks and cracks and whatnot, and there were some abandoned small businesses right next to that Rite Aid Plaza too. I guess there was like an old hot dog stand that had been there for years, and like an old massage parlor that was all boarded up by the liquor store. That I mean, you're gonna kind of get what you expect with that in terms of maybe some characters or graffiti and whatnot when you're thinking safety. But yeah, that's about it from what I recall.
Great. Sergio, thank you very much. For team 10, it was Janice, Brian, and Lisa. Could you kind of briefly speak to this, whoever chooses to?
Okay, Janice, are you around or you're on the phone or something? Okay, I can do it. We basically went from the post office to the public storage area where Susie's Triangle is. So the sidewalk there is from the curb to the buildings is 13 feet the whole length. So there's really no problem with ingress and egress or wheelchair operation. There are some rough areas, some raised areas. It was mostly, I think, pear trees that were improperly maintained, badly trimmed, and showed it. They had decomposed granite below most of them. Some of them actually had some kind of concrete pebble thing around the bottom of them down near the public storage building. And it's kind of you could benefit maybe from bike racks near the post office, possibly, maybe near the school. There's a charter school there. There's a apartment building next to the post office there, maybe a bike rack there. I don't know. I mean, the thing with the bike racks is most people are not going to leave any bike worth value on any bike rack along anywhere there, because when they come back, it'll be gone probably. So unless it's a busy area, most people were not going to use a bike rack, I don't think, or a heavy traffic area with a lot of people looking. We didn't, there wasn't too much. That area is kind of nondescript. I mean, you have the post office, you have a apartment building, then there's some little businesses there, PC repairs and different little medical type offices. Then there's the charter school, and then you move right into public storage. I think what might be nice is if there were some kind of, like the tree wells, if they were redone or replaced trees or whatever, with like cast iron grate or something. It's just kind of a concrete alley there, and there's not a lot going on. I'm not sure what would make it more friendly. I mean, nicer trees would be nice. Maybe some dog poop things or something like that, but there's, it's pretty much a concrete haven there. There's really not a lot of room for improvement other than maybe better trees and better tree wells.
Cool, thank you so much, Brian. Eric and David, which team were you on? Because I didn't have that listed in my notes when you signed in. Do you remember what portion you covered? We will get back to them. All right, Muriel, would you mind, who just sent me all these wonderful photos that I'll upload to the website when we get a chance?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So sorry, I just sent them. I meant to send them before.
That's
so
okay.
we did, we were team 11. We started at the north end, just at the cross of Verdugo. And here at the very top, it's the sidewalk there is very, very narrow. It's less than 24 inches wide. There's also there's telephones basically in the middle of the sidewalk, which makes it basically impassable just right here. Here it opens, there's no trees really until Habitat. Here it opens up a little bit more, which is nice. And then a lot more in front of Habitat. I don't remember offhand, like looking at the sidewalk, but I think because there's not many trees, I think it was pretty flat. This was nice. There was trash cans, bike racks. The trees in front weren't great. There's a palm tree, which is fine, but I think definitely can be improved. And then over here, there's more trees. There's a lot of big, like probably 20, 25 feet long beds that don't have a lot of stuff in them. So there's a lot of possibility to put stuff in there. But the sidewalks here are very, very wide. So, there's a sidewalk plus the beds that stuff can go in. So it's nice. There's a lot of space. And here, especially, there's a lot of trees. Not everything is in great condition. There's a lot of stuff needs to be trimmed and watered. And there's one tree that the trunk had been set on fire, and it was recent. So I don't know apparently it's happening kind of like different places, which is strange. And then we get to like basically a tree here. Like I think this is the last tree, and then all the way to where we finished, which was Evans Drive. There's not a single tree. And it just it completely changes the feel of the sidewalk because, suddenly you're out in the sunlight, there's nothing green. The sidewalks continue to be pretty wide. But it's just and especially like here at the bus station, it's not great because, there's no shade and there's a trash can there, which is nice. But it's like, if you're sitting for the bus there in the middle of summer, it's pretty terrible. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, basically there's just a ton of opportunity for, there's one thing, there is a big sign right here that's like for the freeway. So I was thinking, even if we don't put trees there, it'd be nice to put like lower shrubs, just that kind of green thing. So, I mean, that is a consideration, obviously. Also like here where there's a lot of traffic, to not impede the view of cars and stuff. But I think there's still opportunities, even if it's not trees, to do something a little bit lower. Yeah.
Incredible, thank you. Excellent. So Eric, are you with us?
Yeah, I was in group 2 actually. So
Oh, you
when they
were.
gave the report, it was very complete.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure we didn't miss you. Team 12. It might have been Madeline. Oh, Heather, were you part of Team 12?
Yes, I was part of Team 12. The first block was wider than the second block, so that was kind of good. There was one tree well with nothing growing in it. There was the problem with that area is there's a camper van that, hang on a second, I need to close this. There's a camper van that's always parked there that would make it so you wouldn't really want to have a bike rack or anything there, I think. The second block, it gets really narrow. Like, I don't think you could necessarily fit a wheelchair or a baby carriage down that block. And there's no trees whatsoever and really no room for trees.
Okay. Interesting. Very good. Thank you. And then, oh, Team 13, Nicole.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Yeah, Team 13, the sidewalk varied between 7 and 8 feet, which is fine, but then we had about, I would say, 3 smaller and three major tripping hazards from tree roots lifting up the sidewalk, so that overall, I think you couldn't maneuver it with a baby, with a stroller, or as if with a wheelchair. And then it feels to just walk along in general. It feels kind of, it doesn't feel really abandoned because there are some businesses, but they are industrial. And we noticed most of the homes, they all open up toward Verdugo Road. And it seems kind of desolate. Although there are trees, there are quite a few trees, there are pears, but they seem also in poor condition. They are badly maintained. There are a lot of weeds and empty tree wells, about actually 9 empty tree wells. And so you could add quite a few trees, but then if they can't, if they're the ones that are there are not maintained, then it's almost where you think, why would you do that? Or it would be, yeah, you just have to find a system. And we didn't notice any irrigation there as well. And there's a lot of trash, and it feels overall abandoned. And when you look across Eagle Rock Boulevard, there are almost no trees. And it seems, I mean, Team 7 probably noticed that the sidewalk, that it looked like from our side, there is nothing there where you could plant a lot even. So we were, we were just walking along, and it wasn't comfortable, let's say, although we could walk it, but it feels kind of sad. And then there is the area, it's when you are at Avenue 31, it's where that little tip where Eagle Rock Boulevard and Verdugo Road, where they merge, there is a little tip, and they have actually 2 benches there, and there's a tree, and you think, oh wow, if you added a couple more benches and maybe a bike rack there's a bus station, and possibly some doggy waste bags and some nice greenery in the middle, even some succulents or one cactus that could grow into something cool, it would feel like a mini park almost. And that could be a nice little area. But overall, we were thinking, we noticed too that a lot of the trees, they were blocked by some very low wires, and the cables, basically, the trees are just planted right beneath. So you really have to almost just top them off, I think. We shouldn't, but I'm just saying, it feels you can't plant anything taller because you are so restricted. And if you can't plant anything tall, then it seems, or bigger, it seems almost as if it doesn't exist in that part. It's kind of where we thought it would be nice maybe to add some medians to shorten the turning lanes that are there, and add a median or two in the middle and put some bigger trees there that basically with a big canopy that are not restricted by any telephone poles. I don't know if that's possible, and that's a huge amount of work. And I think that stretch at the moment, it seems to us like a passing through area. Because there are no coffee shops right there, and I mean, people are living there obviously, but it doesn't seem, it seems more you would just pass through. And what we thought is, if it makes more sense to maybe focus on the other areas where there is more foot traffic, and then work your way slowly down to that area. I don't know if that makes sense, but those were our impressions.
Excellent. Thank you. Lynn, is there anything that you would like to add to that from your experience?
No, Nicole did a great job. I have to say, really appreciated working with her and her husband.
Hi, Lynn.
Cool. Thank you. And then March took on Team 14 with a visiting out-of-town friend, and they took that stretch all by themselves. So how did that go, Marge?
Similar to what Nicole just described. It's this last bit. It's the backs of buildings that front onto Verdugo Road. So it's as if the people who have these buildings on Verdugo have never seen what the backs of their buildings look like. And they're just, it's a mishmash of different kinds of fencing and back walls. The street is really narrow in places, like 2 feet 6 inches because of telephone poles, but also because instead of having a straight like half wall or the end of their parking lot or whatever is in the back of the building, they bring it out on an angle, and it encroaches a good foot into the sidewalk just to support, I'm not sure what, because there's no building there. It's almost all just like the backs of, it's like parking on the other side of the fence. We did find a number of trees, mostly flowering pear, a few magnolia, and yes, same as Nicole, they're all topped off. They're so badly pruned, and they're all topped off to clear those overhead wires. When you get down to the end here, across from Patras, this area is where that Miranda's car wash is, which we've heard is going to be sold and turned into a restaurant beer garden. And, you know, I'm thinking that anytime that anything changes hands, we need to ask them to plant trees, because that's an opportunity. It's also an opportunity to widen the sidewalk a little bit if they don't need that same buttressing that Miranda's needed. But there's this sidewalk widens and narrows and widens and narrows all the way down. And at the very end, there's a bus stop. Oh, and also the building at the very top has 3 driveways that all go nowhere. I mean, it's a solid fence. There's no way to get into that. There's nowhere to go. So there's three driveways taking up space, that very wide ones that could easily put in a tree well there. But because they look like aprons, it would require, you know, filling in the apron to make it match the sidewalk, and then cutting in tree wells. But there's definitely opportunity for improvement. But just like Nicole said, this really isn't an area that you would walk on a normal day, because there's not one thing that fronts on this street. There's no place to go unless you're walking home. And if you were walking home, you'd be walking on Verdugo, because there are no residences on the east side at that point.
Thank you, Marge. That kind of leads us into our last poll before I open up another question. So if you wouldn't mind, what would make Eagle Rock Boulevard more walkable for you?
Can we do more than one?
We're going to be able to speak to that after you take the poll.
Yes, you can do more than one. I just did.
Oh yeah, absolutely more than one. I meant more than what was there. I'm wishing there was a lot more possibilities I could have added. All right. Give it a couple more seconds. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. And here were your answers. Mostly shade, cleanliness, having some place to go, and then safety. All right. We're taking notes on all of this and will be added to our reports. But before we wrap up, I wanted to do a moment where we can just express our vision for this boulevard. So if you can just, sum it up in a couple sentences, I would love to hear what everyone imagines Eagle Rock Boulevard can be, what they would like to see it as. So can I just start with Zazu?
Unmute. Well, I think it's already starting to become, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's already starting to become what I want it to evolve into. I mean, it's the new businesses making the destination. And then I think it's all incremental. So I think it's all of the beautification, but it's really just making places people want to go to. And that's kind of the biggest important thing for me.
Thank you. Nicole?
Yeah, same thing. I think if we could almost continue what's up on Eagle Rock Boulevard, kind of close to Colorado, and pull that down all the way to San Fernando, I think, in Cyprus, I think that would be amazing. That would be incredible. And I think, I don't know what has to come first, the business or the trees or the hardscaping, but either way, I think that would be incredible if that happened. I hope, I don't know what goes into those buildings, the beautiful Spanish colonial and Spanish Moorish building that are being renovated. I'm not sure what goes in there, but maybe that will start pulling it down, like Habitat also did, and I guess step by step, but that would be really cool.
The building on Avenue 35, the Spanish Colonial, is supposedly going to have a brewery, a bar, a restaurant.
Pizza oven.
A pizza place.
So yes, those sort of things. Muriel, do you have a vision for this boulevard?
Yes, I definitely have a vision. So as I was telling Helene earlier, I grew up in Mexico City, and I'm going to share the screen with you guys again to kind of show you what it looks like. So these are basically like boulevards. And if you zoom in, there's like streets on either side. And obviously this is a much wider than what we have here, but like people walk here. It's like, it's so beautiful. It's just an amazing place to visit and just walk through. And like, that's kind of like what's been inspiring me to what we can do with our boulevard here. And also I was thinking like what they did in York Boulevard to do the road diet, and that increases just so much foot traffic because, you're not next to this giant street where people are just zooming by really fast on cars, which is loud and it's just not conducive to wanting to sit there necessarily. So I think, just if we get the trees going, if we, and I understand the road diet on Eagle Rock is going to be an enormous, probably 20-year fight. But like, ideally, like, because I think those two things are just going to have people walking there everywhere. And there's going to bring more businesses, and the businesses that are there are just going to like thrive because people want to be around green and people want to go to fun places. And yeah, so that's my vision.
Thank you. I'm just going to kind of pop around to people that haven't spoken. Eric, would you like to speak to your vision?
Sure. For me, the thing that stands out the most is accessibility. For people with disabilities, for people who may have wheelchairs, for our community that's getting older, accessibility is important, and even for our young families who may have a stroller. Part of the reason they may not walk down their block is simply because they can't. They hit a roadblock. They're limited a block in, so they have to drive somewhere else. So accessibility would definitely be part of it.
Great, thank you. Annette, did you want to speak to your vision of Eagle Rock Boulevard?
Oh, gosh, I look at San Vicente Boulevard in Brentwood. I would like to see that.
Yep, I know what you're speaking of. Rose? So if you would like to speak to that? All right, I'm going to open it up.
Rose is muted, so she may be speaking, but we don't know it.
Okay. Paul, go ahead. And take yourself off mute.
Sorry. Okay, walkability, and you want to have places to walk to. So by walkability, you want to make it nice, pleasant to walk. At certain points, maybe have a shady area with benches and, nice shrubbery, that sort of thing, right?
Okay, great, thank you. Let me just open this up. Anyone wanted to add a comment and speak to their vision of Eagle Rock Boulevard? Because this is what we're going to be working toward. Go ahead, Molly.
So if we're wishful thinking, I would love to see the railway cars come back. But I totally agree with Muriel. I would love to see something similar to what I experienced in Spain. Multi-use, enjoyable for all, parklets and areas of respite along the boulevard, and of course the medians managed and improved.
Excellent. Anne, and then Marge, and then Sergio, I believe.
I would like the trees to be cared for. It's like, I'm a landscape architect. I'm here on Earth to make this a better place. I'm supposed to be a guardian of the earth, a steward of the earth. Every time I walk down Eagle Rock Boulevard, which I do every single day with my dogs, it is so loud and so hot, and the cars are going so fast.
Yeah.
I can't even listen to my book on tape. In my ears, my headphones, because it's so loud that the traffic drowns it out. And there's nothing green. There's all these blank walls, and I want it to be beautiful. Why can't we have trees? Why can't we have trees?
Excellent.
Why should we have to live on the west side to have trees on our street? Anyway, that's my rant for tonight.
Thank you. Marge?
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree with you, Nicole, that, that upper part of Eagle Rock Boulevard in Eagle Rock is lovely, but that always has been a business corridor. Whereas here in Glassell Park, we've had a mishmash, like we had years ago, there were shoe stores and grocery stores and all that. That Spanish Colonial, for instance, was a grocery store and a bank, I think. Brian will be able to.
Yeah, it was a bank.
And then, but we don't even have the buildings that could be made into those kinds of places. So my feeling is that the first thing we can do that we can actually do is put in the trees.
Yeah, that's
because that's going to make a difference. It's going to hide those walls we don't want to look at. It's going to, and maybe then we can go to those businesses and say, would you mind planting some vines on your fence? Would you mind painting your walls so they match? Or maybe we can say, here's a list of mural artists. Could you hire one of them? There's ways to deal with what we have that exists now. And then when things start to change hands and new businesses come in or new people come in, we can say, hey, we would really appreciate it if you would take a look at the back of your building. Take a look at what this looks like from the street. I agree that Eagle Rock is not pleasant to walk on. It's you know, it's too loud, it's frightening, it's all those things. But I think that we can make a start by dealing with the trees and dealing with the trees on the median in beyond the parkways. And then we have to talk about things like, you know, how do we slow down the traffic and how do we make it less of a freeway within a freeway? Because that's kind of what it is. But I do think that starting with trees and greenery is the way to go.
John and Suzanne?
Yeah, I agree with that, with what Marge's saying, and totally what everyone is. But I think we can control what we can control right now. And I think what we can control is planting trees, planting shrubs, making things more beautiful, and holding businesses in a lot of these plazas to accountability to keep their areas clean, beautify their areas. And I agree with Marge, painting things. Paint is very inexpensive, and that can do a lot of changes with that. So we should start looking at things we can control and things that we can't control. We can worry about those later, but build it, they come. So work on those items that we want to change and trying to reach out to the community and tell them, these are the things we want to do. This is our vision. This is what we ultimately look at, and set those wish lists as we put those out. People will rise up and they'll work with it. I think you'll be surprised how everybody else is in agreement with us who lives in this area.
Yeah.
So I think it's achievable.
Yeah.
So
we moved from Brooklyn in 2012, and we saw a major change from 2004 we moved there, 2003.
Yeah.
We saw major change just from doing what we're doing right now. And now you can't even, like, it's incredible.
You can't touch the area now.
You can't touch the area. It's beautiful.
But it wasn't beautiful.
It was not. It was industrial. It was ugly. And just by doing this, it was such a major change.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to chime in? Gama.
I'm just feeling the energy in the room. This is exciting. Yay, trees. Yeah, I think also trees. Well, what do I want? I think healing the earth, most importantly, right? I feel like we're indebted to the earth that we've been destroying, and we need to start, healing earth and healing ourselves. And we do it by connecting with the earth, and this is a great way to do it. Trees are a great, a great way to connect. And also trees are a panacea. They will do a lot of things. They will increase profit to your businesses. They will clean the air from all the traffic. They will reduce noise. They will bring back wildlife. They like, it has been proven that trees can have the same value as psychiatric medicine that you take, right? Just by being but they have to be big. You can't have the little ones. You have to have big trees like the ones on Verdugo. So healing the earth, and I hear a lot of people about business revitalization. I think that, the problem that we have in a lot of parts of the city is that there's not a lot of maintenance done by the city, right? But I also see that as jobs for our youth, as jobs for, people in our community to clean these trees. They can be trained, and it's not that hard. And then it can get harder too, right? You can get more and more skilled. But there's just so many things to do around trees and with trees, planting them, watering them, cleaning up the beautiful flowers. There's all kinds of things to be done, right? Like to sucker growth. And so that's business. So now we should start thinking of our green spaces, which are Northeast LA, we have a lot of. They are going to become economic hubs, right? Everyone wants these green jobs, and we have to create them in our neighborhoods, right? And if we start planting the trees now, right, to the extent that they exist in Ciudad Mexico or España, right? Those are big trees. Those are a lot of jobs, and the services that they'll be providing are, medicinal, kind of sequestering carbon. How much carbon? How much can Eagle Rock, right, sequester to stop climate change by planting the biggest trees? So those are the two things: healing the land and economic opportunity. So, I mean, so those are my things.
Thank you, Gama. Anyone else? And we're going to wrap up very soon.
I'd like to speak.
Jim, I'm sorry, who?
Brian.
Okay, Jim had his hand up, and then right after Jim. Okay, Brian?
Oh.
All right, I think I'm off mute now. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Gamma, thank you for your comments. I do tree maintenance to a certain extent, but from your comments, I'm kind of ignorant on what I'm doing, and probably we ought to get together because I'm sure there's lots of things that you could tell me so that we could do it a little more efficiently, a little more correctly. We did a lot of trimming of suckers and stuff on all the trees on San Fernando Road, and we also did it in the center medians on Eagle Rock Boulevard. We didn't do anything on the parkway trees on either side of Eagle Rock, and it seems to me there's some opportunities from just taking care of the stuff we have. I mean, yes, we need more. I'm not saying that we don't need more, but taking care of what we already have probably is the low hanging fruit, I'm thinking. So yeah.
We, what you point to is we are definitely going to be focusing on those trees, and it's going to take a collaborative and specific effort. So thank you for those comments. Brian?
Yeah, I think some of the boulevard is kind of, I don't know what's going to happen to make it more desirable. The parts like Marge was talking about where it backs up the built well roofing and stuff. But I think there's also parts where there's great linkages to like Verdugo, where you have walkable areas, you have the rec center, you have companies that take care of their areas like the paving company right across from the rec center and the pool that keep their part. They have beautiful parkways. They have fences that are well maintained and everything. So that's an encouraging thing. That's someone you could point to and say, can you keep your business looking like that? I think more trees would be nice, but I don't know what's going to make it exactly more desirable to walk there unless there's a destination. We do have, along with the old cool looking Spanish building, there's also a couple of old buildings, the gray building that's called, and another building that are being renovated, which is going to spread more business down that way. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think business is going to drive it because you're going to have people wanting to go to these places. You've got, the Verdugo bar, they've got a place opening up. I know it's on Verdugo, but these things are all going to link together. That area in itself could become thriving. There's our old little street there of the old, I call it the commercial district, where there probably used to be little music shops and dime stores and stuff like that. That may turn into something. There's a lot of opportunity there, but I think it's going to take probably, I have to say it, but there's probably gonna be some hipster joints coming in and changing it around a little bit. But I think, cleaning up, maintaining and getting some new trees and landscaping and stuff is going to help a lot.
Thank you, Brian. And, that also comes with the support of the council offices. So aside from being on this Zoom link, they will be getting this information directly. And it's very helpful that when businesses pull permits, that the council office is aware of the improvements the community would like to see and helps push that in that direction when those opportunities come up. Marge?
I just want to say that when we do finally find the time and the energy to put all this stuff into some format that can be submitted to the CDs, that we want to put in, that we had close to 40 people volunteering to do this survey. We've got 28, I think, was at the height tonight, participating, and that we just need to make everybody aware that the energy level is high and that we have the buy-in. And we know it can't happen overnight, but we want to not drop the ball. We want to get it in motion and do what we can incrementally if it has to be, but we have a big, broad vision for this. And I think that we need to, make sure that everybody who can affect this knows that there are a lot of us.
Absolutely. John, you have your hand up. Was that just you left it up?
I was just thumbs up to what she said.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree. Yes.
You know, and I think that is a great way to end this meeting. The GPIA has that big vision for Eagle Walk Boulevard, and we see the improvements that we'd like to see happening to this boulevard will be beneficial to the residents of the community as well as the businesses. We'd like to see this to be a thriving area, once again, walkable, pleasant, safe, and this is one of the first steps that we needed to take on that path. And we know it's not going to happen overnight, but I think we are showing the commitment to move forward with this and keep this going until we start making some real advances onto that vision. I want to thank everybody for their participation, and I think you were absolutely amazing the way that people stepped up, the amount of focus and energy they put into this, and it was so beneficial. It really showed the collective community spirit and desire for improvements on Eagle Rock Boulevard, and that's what's going to support those changes. So thank you very much. Any last things, or I will close this out. We'll try to put tonight's meeting recording on our website, and we're going to be downloading everything from the chat. So we'll take those comments. And thank you all very, very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Helene.
Thanks.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I look forward to seeing you all in
Thank
person.
you.
Thank you, folks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Elaine.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Aline.
It's so great that you guys are here.
Yay.
Hey, Marge, stick around for a second. I have a question. Molly also.
All right.
Cool. I'm trying to, I'm hitting save chat, but I'm not sure, it doesn't do anything. I click on it and it just.
Don't change the room. I'm gonna just I'll just try to, how do I even get up to the top? I was gonna try to get up to the top so I could just screenshot it.
It might go to like the area where the recorded videos are.
Okay.
Also here, it says file.